Hey everybody, welcome back to the HBI class on marriage. Today's topic is a message to wives. This was probably one of the hardest ones for me to write because, well, I'm not a wife. But through a lot of study in the Bible and a lot of prayer, I'm going to address you just as I addressed the men in the last video. Husbands, you are welcome to watch. We encourage it, but the same thing applies here. You cannot use this material to attack your wife or hold it against them, okay? It's used to help understand what they go through. Now, the first passage that we're going to look at, some of you hate, some of you love. If you hate it, I'm sorry, we're going through it anyway. Please bear with us to the end. I'm going to start talking through some stuff, okay? It's Proverbs 31. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it, and out of her earnings she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She's clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household, and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and called her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. Okay. Now, before you say, that's impossible, well, that's the point, right? The first line of this is, who can find a woman like this? It's meant to be an example. And we are going to draw out the key points here, all right? The first point we'll talk about is that a wife does everything she can so that her husband trusts her completely. He trusts her judgment, he trusts her wisdom, and he trusts her motives. To throw back to Ephesians 5, she submits to him. But because he trusts her, she has the freedom to do all of the things listed out here in Proverbs. She submits to him and takes care of him, and we'll see all the ways that she does that here. Right? She may submit to him, but it's because she trusts him, because he trusts her. There's a mutual respect here. She may submit to him, but she still has freedom to do all of these other things. And quite frankly, she does more than he probably does, because it sounds like he's sitting at the city gate. All right. She is a tremendously hard worker. Whether she's making clothes or selling clothes or planting a vineyard or working in an office or trading her goods at the market or keeping a home or cooking dinner or doing laundry, washing dishes, vacuuming, picking up cherries off the floor, cleaning the house, stocking the house with food. She works hard. It doesn't matter if she's a stay-at-home mom or a hard-hitting career woman. She doesn't have idle hands. Even if she works out of the home, she makes sure that her home is taken care of and her family is fed. There's no room for laziness here. Just like I took a stab at men for being lazy, women are becoming pretty darn lazy these days as well. I asked around a bit, okay? And I asked, what is the biggest distraction for you to several women, okay? Most of them said one of two things, okay? Social media, that was number one, and TV. TV, specifically rom-coms and dramas, okay? And I'm not going to harp on TV. It is a distraction, and it's something we need to watch. But social media is a pitfall for men and women. But it seems as though women have more of a tendency to get sucked in there and sit for hours and hours. And I'll admit, when it comes to the social media stuff, I don't understand why. I have to ask people, what is your fascination? Some people say it's because they're comparing themselves to other men or women, which is very unhealthy. Some say it's because the reason why women like more or spend more time on social media than men is because women are just more social than men, which, I mean, that's probably true. But either way, social media is a distraction from real life, and it's an escape. You disappear into this virtual reality where you can be bold and say what you want, and you're protected by this the screen. But everyone's lives would be better spent taking care of themselves and their families, studying the Word of God, or actually spending time with other people. So here's the first question to think about. What is your distraction? Back to this Proverbs 31 woman. She is caring and generous. Okay, she helps the needy and takes care of all of the people around her. Her friends, her family. In other words, she is kind and compassionate. Someone who is known for being loving, not angry or aggressive or rude, not cold or bitter. She seeks to help because she genuinely cares. Okay? Now there's a part of Proverbs 31 that seems a little bit out of place, right? Verse 23, her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. Well, I thought we were talking about a woman. Well, we are. Her husband is well respected. But as Genesis says, a husband and wife are one. People respect her husbands because they also respect his wife. She supports him to the point that he is able to stand up and be a leader even in the community as well as at home. What else does this say? She is strong and dignified and not afraid of the future. She doesn't break easily under stress. She isn't worried about the future because she prepares well for the future. She deals with hard times as they come and refuses to let them break her. She deals with it. She preps. She's got enough oil for her lamp to burn all night. She's got enough food to feed people. When it snows, she's ready because she's got the clothes already prepared for her family. She prepares for the future. Next bit is she teaches with wisdom and kindness. And actually here it says that she opens her mouth with wisdom, meaning everything that she says is wise. She doesn't act foolish or naive, and she teaches with kindness. That's something that, men really aren't very good at, teaching with kindness. But specifically it says women teach with kindness. Her children grow under her tutelage, and then they grow up and bless her. Her husband raises her up and praises her above all other women. But verse 30 brings it all into focus, right? Charm is deceitful, and beauty is in vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. That's how she does all this. Right? You read Proverbs 31, and what angers a lot of people is it's impossible. She's got like 17 jobs. She's cooking and cleaning and doing all the housework. Meanwhile, her husband's out lazying around, tanning by the gate, chatting up his buddies, having a drink. And she's doing everything. She's prepping, she's sewing, she's milking, she's growing, she's doing it all. But she can't do that without being a woman that praises God, or fears God. Because she's focusing on God. Her strength comes from God. Her wisdom comes from God. Her energy and kindness and generosity and understanding, all of it, comes from God. Now, all of that is not to be the perfect woman. It's to be just an excellent woman. Not perfect, just excellent. And that can't even be achieved without God. So pursue God in all that you do, and you will start to notice these qualities emerge that you never believed you could have. You know, I'm gonna read Titus 2, 3-5 here, okay? Older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior, not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good, and so train the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. Here again, we see women are to teach each other, specifically older women to younger women. They're not supposed to be drunks or gossips. They're to love their families and husbands. They're to be self-controlled and pure. Women, I had this conversation with men too on purity, okay? And I have to bring it up here because it is also an issue with women in today's society. If you struggle with pornography, it's a sin against God and your husband. But I think the more common struggle for women is in some of the other forms of entertainment that they consume. Some of the books that are read or the shows that are watched. You know, for some of you, those books are just as hurtful as pornography. Because now you have a vision or expectation of what should be going on with your husband, and that's not from the Bible. You know, there's a lot of, we're going to call it smut books. And I think you know where I'm going with that. And I'm not going to embellish on that too much. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, hunt me down in church and I will pull you aside and have a conversation. But those books are just as damaging as pornography to your relationship and to you. Because now you have these weird expectations from your husband. And when he doesn't fulfill it, it becomes really easy to fantasize or even seek it from another source. So, be pure. Watch what you're putting in front of you, because it can be hurting your concept of reality without you even knowing it. That goes for the men too. So that pretty much covers Proverbs 31. And now I'm going to hit on Ephesians quickly, okay? That little line about submitting to your husbands, it's mimicked again in Titus. That does not mean that you have less value or that you have a servant role to your husband. You are equal in value, but you have different roles, okay? He has to take on the burden and responsibility by leading his family. You have to take on the burden of caretaking, but you both lead your children. You're both equals. You're a team. All that the submit line means is that you allow him to lead you closer to God. And that if you guys get into a big disagreement, and I specify big disagreement, that you guys cannot come to a conclusion on, you cannot resolve, the ultimate choice is his. Not that he can just bulldoze you on every decision, because he can't. That is not a healthy marriage. But on the big ones that you really just can't get past, you have to submit to his decision on those tough choices. Because in the end, he has to answer to God for how he leads his family. But for the most part, you are a team making decisions. And as you grow towards that Proverbs 31 woman, gaining wisdom and kindness, he will respect your insight and wisdom more and more. Until you guys get to the point where there are no more big controversies. Because you guys trust each other so much. Now, before we get to the Q&A like we had in the last video, I wanted to hit on one more thing. Allow yourself to be led by your husband. This is tough. To be able to trust him enough to relinquish control, even against your will at all times. Not at all times, at times. You know, every feminist just added me to their hit list. But it's God's design. We can't really fight against it when we do things and they go wrong. When men don't lead, wives and families suffer. Women step up and lead. And the balance is thrown into chaos. They end up creating husbands who act like little boys, and their wives can't even respect them, let alone trust them. Then the marriage becomes chaotic. Nobody trusts anybody. Everybody becomes hyper selfish. And the marriage falls apart. You have to learn to trust your husband, to let him lead, to let him be the head of the household. Are you ready to try that? Honestly. I'm going to end this spiel with this. I want you to remember this. Okay? Proverbs, not 31, Proverbs 21:9. It is better to live in a corner of the housetop than in a house shared with a quarrelsome wife. They're literally saying that it is better to tuck yourself into a closet than to share a whole house with a wife who just wants to fight. I hope you're not like that. And if you are, I hope you repent and you learn to communicate with your husband and learn how to trust him and learn how to let him have the spiritual headship. Marriage is a team effort. It's time to start encouraging each other. Now, we're going to go into the Q&A. Alright, so like the last video, I wanted to invite my wife to come and reverse roles this time. She gets to ask the questions so that you women get the insight. Although we men are primitive beasts and you can read us like a book most of the time because you're mental ninjas. But these are still good conversations to consider having with your husband.
Oh, yes. So first question, why do you always leave your dirty socks on the floor? Dirty socks.
I am lazy.
Well, I knew that one. Is that just all it is?
It really it's yeah. No, I get into a comfy spot and I don't move.
You know, our kids play with those.
That's on them. They'll play with whatever, I guess. Oh,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I try to get them in the laundry basket.
You try, and it counts.
See, I like it.
It works for now. How would you feel if you found out that I've been reading books like 50 Shades of Grey?
Be a little thrown off. And really confused because that is just word porn.
Right.
I mean, it would disturb me and probably make me a bit insecure. I mean, men already struggle with insecurity. I'd probably just ratchet it up. And then I'd ask to see the books, and I'd take them out like a wild man and burn them.
Going back to that primitive beast thing.
Hey, we like fire.
I mean, so do I. So, what does that say about me? Okay. How would you respond if you got home from work and nothing had been done around the house for a week?
It's happened.
Well, yes. I have bad weeks.
I
How do
mean,
those weeks make you feel? How does it make you feel?
I would probably... I know what I do, because it's happened, right? I decide in those moments to put aside my frustration, because it frustrates me. You know, especially in this situation where I work and you stay at home with the kids. It frustrates me when nothing gets done, because it's, you know, it's kind of your job to take care of the house.
Mm-hmm. And keep the kids alive.
And keep the kids alive. That is the bare minimum. But, you know, I choose to put aside my frustration, and I take out that frustration, usually through doing dishes.
Dishes are good for that.
And you get irritated that I'm doing the dishes that you haven't done, and, you know, it's not a healthy way to take out my frustration. It'd be much better to talk through things, but it definitely, realistically, I think since you don't work, that frustration probably stems from, I feel like I'm being taken advantage of.
Okay.
So, like, I go out and I kill myself doing as much work as I can to bring in as much money as I can. And then I come home and, I don't know, you're asleep on the couch while the kids are running around or something. That doesn't really happen very often, but that's the feeling that I get. I try to show you grace, but it's still, I mean, it's not the greatest feeling in the world.
Right. Why don't you lead me like the Bible tells us? And what can I do to encourage you to lead me? Should I have asked one and then the other? Oh, bad. Too much at one time?
No. I'm fine. It's tough to shake things up. And the times when I have shook, the times when I did shake things up.
There you go. I couldn't figure it out either.
I was met with, what did you say the last time? Stubbornness.
Mm-hmm.
Pushback, which was very discouraging to continue to do it. And so now I've had to change how I do it and encourage you in other ways. And as far as, I mean, and that's not a good excuse. I mean, I got to answer to God for those kinds of things. But usually it's just awkward why I don't lead, because I wasn't raised in a situation like that. You know, I didn't get Bible teaching at home growing up. So it's strange to try and change our home culture around completely.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as what you can do to encourage me to lead you, um, just stop being stubborn.
Oh, that's a work in progress.
Like, well, at least in those moments when I come with the Bible like a little lost puppy dog saying, "Please read with me," that doesn't happen. But at least in those moments, if you really are just like, I don't know, I've had too much with the kids, I have too much going on, I just need to sleep, whatever. At least say, hey, I really appreciate you doing this. Can we set up a time? Can we, do it before dinner tomorrow, or
Schedule.
you can schedule it, whatever it is, but acknowledge at least that I'm making an attempt.
Yes.
Because that is huge in encouraging me to keep trying to do it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. What are the best ways that I can show you love?
It's a good question. So, just being there, doing your role, whatever your role is, yours is stay-at-home mom, housewife. That is showing me love. When I come home to a clean, calm household, I mean, it makes all the difference in the world. The moments when I'm discouraged, if you help draw me out of that place, it's huge. So if I come home and I've had a really bad day at work, and you say stuff like, tomorrow will be better, you know what, you still killed it today, you did good, I'm proud of you, that kind of stuff. If you heap it on and say, you need to go in there and tell your boss what's what, that doesn't help me. That leads me further down a rabbit hole of frustration and anger and everything else. But just knowing that you're there to help build me back up when the world has torn me down, that is probably the best way that you could show me love.
Words of affirmation. Yes? No.
I'm not talking about love languages here.
Well, it totally falls within the range.
I'm sure, but I don't know them, so.
All right. That's doing it. I'm proud of you. You think it'd be a joke about that, but no, I'm not. It's fine. Okay. And, ooh, I like this one. What is the thing that you love most about me?
There are these times in between everything else that we go through in our lives, with dealing with the frustration of all the ages of children, with dealing with work and keeping up the house. And there are these times when you randomly say stuff like what you've been saying, like the "I'm proud of you" thing. These random moments of encouragement. This complete support that you have, not for everything in my life, but for like the ministry. So the things that I am pursuing for God. Those. I know that if I tell you, hey, I have a meeting that I have to go to, and it's going to keep me out of the house for an extra 4 hours. And it's because I'm going to talk to somebody who wants more information about Jesus. You're going to put all your plans aside that you had for that night, and you're going to have to deal with the kids for the whole day, the entire day on your own, and you're going to have to feed them and get them put to bed on your own. And I know all of that's the case. But you don't get frustrated, you don't get mad. You support me and say, yeah, no, that's awesome, you need to go do that. You encourage me to be better and to pursue the ways of God, and that's what I love most.
No. It's cute.
And then there's that hasn't always been the case. A couple of years ago, if you would have asked me, it would have been, well, you frustrate me to the point where I'm the most patient person alive through the grace of God.
That's still not true?
Oh, no, that is true. But you don't frustrate me like that anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's good.
But, no, we've gotten to a good place. Mm-hmm. And it's all about just being stubborn for our marriage.
On both sides?
No, stubborn
for the marriage.
For the marriage.
Oh, okay. My bad.
No, the goal is not to be stubborn here. Don't misconstrue that. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. That's the end of the questions. Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm good.
Thank you guys, and we will see you on the next one about married with kids.